Well, it's a rainy Thursday morning over at the Gilford Community Church. Ginny and I are in the breezeway between the youth center and the church, and I say this almost every time I do an interview. It's one of my favorite people, but sometimes when I say it, I have my fingers crossed. Ginny Babcock is really one of the people I most admire in our church for a lot of different reasons. But so how have you been doing?
Well, we've been doing very well. Jim and I are taking it a day at a time, and we're finding things to do, and like everyone, we're reading and trying to understand what's happening and making the right choices. We're being careful. My husband had cancer several years ago, and as a cancer survivor, he's a little anxious about everything because his immune system isn't as good. So we try to be really smart about it and follow the recommendations, stay home a lot, but we're retired, so we're used to being home anyway, so it's working out pretty well. We really can't complain.
I know one of the things you do almost every day is take a nice long walk with Sandy McLaughlin.
Yeah.
How far do you guys go?
We have a 3.5-mile route
Okay.
that we do here in the village almost every day. And then lately, because I've had plenty of time, I try to get a second walk in somewhere and do another 3 miles. So I'm trying to do 6 miles a day. I don't get it every day, but
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And you walk at a nice pace. I know sometimes Cindy and I have been behind you and we haven't been able to catch up to you.
Yeah, well, as you probably know, Sandy still runs.
Yep.
I used to, but I gave it up because I have an issue with my knee. So we kind of, when we started walking, I wanted it to be meaningful, not just a leisurely stroll. So we try to keep a good pace, but
So where do you start?
at her house.
Okay, so you drive down to her
Yeah,
house.
yeah. I park at her house, and then we just do through the village and around over by the Knolls and past the library and up around by the high school and back up around and back to her house.
Yep. Awesome.
So it's good.
And what brought you to the Gilford Community Church?
Well, it's interesting because when we first moved here in 1980, we were starting our family and we bought a home, and I was raised as a Congregationalist.
Was your mom a minister?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what was it like growing up as a preacher's kid?
Oh, it was actually kind of nice because it was a very small town.
Where was that?
I grew up in Harrisville, which is near Keene.
Okay.
And she actually had 3 very small parishes. It was a tri-parish with 2 churches in Harrisville. One was a little Baptist church, and the other one was the United Church of Christ Congregational Church. And then she also had, in the summer, Nelson had its own church open. They closed during the winter because they didn't have any heat in the church. So, so she did those 3 churches. So.
Now there couldn't have been a lot of women ministers.
No.
So that's kind of neat, yeah.
She actually was wanted to do more what Scott does. She was really interested in the youth ministry. She moved up from Pennsylvania and was working in a summer church camp. And the minister left, and they asked her to fill in temporarily till they could get a new minister. And she stayed for 20 some odd years.
Wow, that's great.
And did get ordained.
Awesome.
But it was a special ordination here in New Hampshire. I don't know that she could have gone out of state and still be considered ordained, but it was a pretty special thing for her. Yeah, because you're right, there were very few women.
Yeah.
And so growing up, it was nice because we had a lot of activities through the church, a lot of things to do. It's a lot like here, that the families were really a part of things, and we had a lot of opportunity to just learn how to be good people in a community.
So did you say
nice.
you moved to Gilford in 80?
Yeah.
Where did you and Jim meet?
We actually met in Nashua. I
Okay.
was working for the state as a social worker in their child and family services, doing protective service work. And Jim worked at the Boys Club in Nashua as the aquatics director, and then they moved him up to, it was almost like a guidance counselor for the program. And he was a volunteer big brother for a little boy that I was actually doing a protective investigation on.
Huh.
And we met to talk about this boy, and we didn't agree on the case plan at all. So we met several times, and then I'd get these messages when I'd come back from doing something. Jim called, wants you to call him. I'd call and he'd say, you want to go have a beer or you want to get a cup of coffee? So it just kind of developed from there. But that's how we first met.
And where did you get married?
My mom married us.
Okay.
And Jim was raised Catholic, very Catholic. And his uncle he's passed now, but he was a priest in Brazil. And he flew home.
Wow.
And so my mom and Father Dave,
yeah.
both were
Awesome.
part of it. And we got married in Nelson.
Huh.
Yeah.
And how did you pick Gilford?
We were living in Dover at the time, and I was still working for the state, and Jim was a probation officer for the city of Dover. And he really wanted to work in school counseling, and that was his degree. And an opening came up in Laconia after the school year started. They promoted one of the guidance counselors to an assistant principal position and created an opening. So in October, they offered him the job, and he took it. And so for a while, we sort of split the difference and then ended up just moving up here.
Yeah.
And we loved Gilford it worked out really well. His secretary at school was just getting her real estate license. So she'd practice with him and she'd take him all around. They probably looked at 40 houses in the area, and we just kept coming back to Gilford. So it worked out.
That's a great place to live. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah. We've been here ever since.
So I understand you spent some time with your grandkids yesterday.
Yeah, we missed them. When everything was normal and our children were working, we have a bunch of educators for children, we would watch two of them. Nathan, the oldest one, is in school. He's a first grader.
And where does Nathan live?
They live in Laconia. He
Okay.
and his sister Eva live in Laconia. And their mom is the director of guidance at the high school, and their dad is a fifth grade teacher at Pleasant Street.
Ah,
And we would have Eva part-time, and she was in preschool part-time, so we'd share that. And then we have another granddaughter, Natalie, and her dad and mom both work out in Gilmanton. Her mom's a music teacher, and her dad teaches social studies. So, and we have Natalie part-time as well. So we got to see them all the time, and Nathan as much as we could. So that's been the only hard part for us. Well, I won't say the only, but the hardest part.
Yeah.
Not having that regular contact with them, and not being able to hug them and all that stuff you like to do with your grandchildren. So yesterday we sort of broke the rules a little bit, and we had Nathan and Eva at our house for the morning, and we got to play a lot, and we had a lot of fun.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, had lunch together on the back deck, and then took them home, and then Natalie and her mom and dad just happened to stop by later in the day. So we got to see all three. We have one more grandchild, a grandson, and this is our bonus son, Evan, and his wife, Sarah, live out in Gilmanton, and he's a police officer, and she works for the sheriff's department. We have a lot of good people in our family, our young people.
Yeah.
And they have a baby boy,
Oh, that's neat.
Reese, who was born in January, and we've gotten to hold him exactly once.
Oh.
So, yeah, because we went to Florida, and when we came back, everything happened with COVID.
Evan, what does he think about when he sees a police incident like took place in Minneapolis?
Oh, I think Evan would be considered a community police officer. He's worked very hard in Belmont to form relationships with various factions in the community. He's got a great relationship with the senior group over there. They do fundraisers all the time to get extra stuff for the police dog. And we haven't had a chance to talk a lot about it, but I know he was appalled, appalled. And he did make the comment to me that he would never, if anybody said, I need medical help, that would be the first thing you would do, is make sure you're taking care of that and then deal with the rest later.
Yeah, I think the key is what you said. If there's a positive relationship between the community and the law enforcement, stuff like this probably doesn't happen.
Right.
When we realize we're all on the same side, but sadly that isn't the situation.
It isn't. You're right. And Evan has commented in the past, even in a small town like Belmont, he said it's really getting difficult to be a police officer because of the gun laws and the drugs. He said every situation you go into is risky. And he's been in a couple of situations which have been very traumatizing for him.
Yeah.
And I give him a lot of credit for sticking with it because it's not an easy job.
No.
I understand that, but your heart has to be in the right place too.
Yeah. So, what are you thinking about getting back to church?
Well, I haven't been in the building since before I left for Florida,
Yeah.
because when we came back, we had the basketball
Yes.
tournament that very first weekend, and then everything shut down. So I'd love to have that happen, but I absolutely agree with what you had said not too long ago, that until we can really have our time together to be a positive, safe, comfortable place.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is amazing.
Well, thank you.
I've told so many people about it, and just how fortunate that we are here in our church, that you have taken such an important and active role in keeping people connected and in caring about people and reaching out and making sure that as much as possible the service is available, communion's available, coffee hour became available for anyone that wants it, but for people who don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable yet, or if that's not their thing, there's no sense of what's wrong with you, you didn't go to communion. You
Right.
know, it's very, I think it's a really smart move until we can really be comfortable together.
You know, and if I weren't the minister, I don't know that I would have come to the drive-through communion. I probably would have sat in my living room with Cindy and had communion with, a piece of pumpernickel.
Yeah, and something.
So we're all different. And one thing I love about the church is that it is a judgment-free zone.
Yes.
Like Planet Fitness, that's their motto,
Yeah, right.
judgment-free.
Right, well, I don't know. I really do feel that about the church. I don't know about the Planet Fitness, but I definitely think that there's been a lot of effort by many people to allow people to feel comfortable in making those kinds of choices.
Yeah.
So it's good. I miss seeing some of the people. I did call Chris Matthews.
Are there some people you don't miss?
Well, I don't know everyone. Although I've been here quite a while. I never did tell you how I ended up coming
Yes.
here. When we first were moving here, we explored around to different churches, and we had this idea that we could have our children and we could raise them in different churches. We could go here, go there, and then we got smart enough to realize that you just can't do that to kids. So it was very important to Jim that at that point in his life, he was still very, very committed to his Catholic beliefs. And so we chose St. Joe's in Laconia after some fits and starts. But I had come here in the old church with Reverend Wixon,
Yep.
met some nice people, and would have been very comfortable, but we went that other route, and we raised our children at St. Joe's and church-wise. And then things happen, people change, experiences change
Yeah,
people.
life happens.
Exactly, and as you know, we lost our son Nathan.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that turned him away or us away. That was probably that proverbial straw.
Yeah.
But there were many things that made Jim realize that he didn't really want to be a part of that church. And I never felt like I was really a part of it in the true sense.
Yeah.
My heart was always in the congregational church, I guess. So I just said, I'm going to go back to the community church and try that one more time. And I did. And
Well, we're
here I
glad you
am.
did. We're glad
Thank
you did.
you. Me too.
And what year did Nathan die?
2005.
2005. Okay.
September of 2005. Yeah, he was diagnosed with aren't they all, a rare childhood cancer, a sarcoma, in the previous December, and graduated from high school in June and was gone by the end of September.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was supposed to go to URI, the University of Rhode Island. He was a javelin thrower in high school had held some some distinction
Huh.
and have been accepted to their track team. And
Wow, that's
URI
great.
track team is pretty well known. So it was pretty exciting. So it was tough. It was
Yeah.
very, very tough. And we miss him dearly
Oh, I'm
every
sure you
day,
do.
as you know, as
Yeah.
I'm sure you miss CJ the same way. That never goes away.
No.
But some good things have come out of it.
Yeah.
We did the scholarship, and we got Evan, and and I came here. So these are all
Yeah.
good things.
Yeah. And just finally, your husband's truck has a unique license plate on it, and tell me about that.
Well, after we lost Nathan, that was Nathan's license plate when he was driving around in high school. He had NTG, Nate the Great. That's
Nate
what
the
we
Great.
always called him when he was little. He was always a character, and he earned that distinction. So he just had to put it on his license plate, I think, just part of that wanting to stay connected.
Yep. Awesome.
And he's kept it ever since.
Well, that's neat. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, Ginny Babcock, thank you so much. I just miss seeing you.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
It's so wonderful to spend a few minutes with
Yeah,
you.
I really appreciate it. I'm so glad you invited me. It's really good to see you. I'm sorry the sun's not shining, but it's still a beautiful
It's a
spot
great
right
day.
here.
It sure is. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is a great day.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
You